All right, sounds great. And thanks very much, Phil. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And just kind of building on what Phil had said there is the best ideas do come from the users. So whether it's enhancements, ideas, or even criticisms, hey, this application is great, but you know what it's missing? We want to hear that feedback. So again, leverage that feedback tab, reach out to Phil, reach out to myself. But that is what allows us to continue to better understand our customers' needs and build those enhancements into the system itself. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And what I'm going to be doing is walking the group through some of the changes that we have introduced here to our Digital Codes Premium platform. Eagle-eyed viewers will note that I am doing this demo from our staging environment. That is solely because I had set up some personas to be able to show different access tiers. Everything that we're going to be seeing here in this demo is available in our production environment, meaning when you sign into Digital Codes at codes.iccsafe.org, you are going to see all of these features, all of these screens as it relates to your user account. All right, and one other disclaimer as I start this off, I am a very large Marvel fan, so you will notice some of the personas that I'm signing in with will reflect that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and sign in here as an end user. And the first test account I'd created is in honor of the latest Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Star-Lord himself, Peter Quill. And this is an account that I've registered yesterday as a trial user. So signing in with this email, username, and password, the user is going to be directed to the My Library page. Now, existing users will be familiar with this as the default page that you see upon sign-in, but what we've done is enhance this to provide a lot more contextual information to make it easier for the user to recognize what tier of access they have and what features are available to them as a result. As a trial user here, the first thing you will notice is a very prominent opportunity to see how much time is remaining on your 14-day no obligation free trial. And that is going to be available at the Premium Complete, which is our highest level of access. So this block here gives you that countdown. Accompanying this is a series of emails to keep the user engaged and aware of the features available as that 14-day period continues to extend. And with these changes is a promotional offer for those that are inside the trial experience to get 15% below list price for Premium Complete if they convert to a paid subscription within that 14-day window. And all that's going to be available here from a single click where you can see it's part of the Premium Complete. This will be available throughout the duration of that 14-day window. But once that trial does end, so does the promotion. A nice feature there. As the user scrolls down, one of the big things you will see is the descriptor here identifying the type of account that the user is consuming. So this is being spotlight as premium trial, and that'll be important as we jump through some of the different personas. You'll notice how that messaging starts to change. But the biggest importance there is whether you have premium singles, premium collections, premium complete, or in this case, premium trial. Your type of subscription will control the titles and the features across which you have access. So Digital Codes is trying to make that clearer to make sure the user is taking full advantage of what is available to them. And along those lines are the 6 prominent blocks here for the tools, content, and support opportunities to ensure the customers are understanding how to utilize the application and taking full advantage of it. I'll come back to these top 3 in just a moment, but I wanted to spotlight the resources and support. Newly here is our onboarding video series, which was crafted. These are all available through YouTube, but it's a series of 5 short videos, which will spotlight some of the key features of Digital Codes. Each of these is about 5 minutes or less, so it's not a massive time investment, but it is going to be well worthwhile for you and your staff to make sure that you do understand how the content is formulated, how search is performed, how to navigate across the contents, as well as powerful tools like bookmarking, tagging, and notes. Additionally, the Quick Start Guide provides a plethora of information around how to utilize the information. This is constantly expanding as we introduce new features, new enhancements. And then the last one here is these webinars, which we host on a monthly basis. As Phil alluded to at the start here, all of our webinars are recorded. So even if you're unable to attend one of these live, you can always visit our webinars page and be able to stream or get caught up on previous webinars that were recorded and conducted. Top row here gives you access to your premium library. So this is going to make sure the user knows where to find the titles containing all the content that's most valuable for performing their tasks at hand. Advanced search, which will take you over to the comprehensive content search page, including the ability to take advantage of all of our advanced search capabilities. And then the My Favorites. And these two will act as anchors to jump you to blocks further down on the page. So the next piece we're going to move to here is My Favorites, which just so happens to be the next block in sequence. But we can see by clicking on that, we'll jump the user directly down to it. Now with the My Favorites, this allows the user to build a set of the titles that they visit most frequently, so that with a single click, you're able to return on subsequent visits and pick up where you left off. As a new user, you'll notice the My Favorites block here is going to be empty, but we can click on Manage Favorites, and we can add any titles to our favorites block as we go along. So I can type in any portion of the title here. I can click 21 IBC, say I want to add the IRC, and we'll put the IFC in there as well. So these become titles that I've identified that I'm going to be frequenting as I sign into digital codes. And even as I add these, the default you can see is going to list these alphabetically, but I can override that simply by dragging and dropping if I know residential is going to be the primary one that I want to go to. Once I'm on the Manage Favorites, I can always return to the My Library page by clicking on Menu, and the My Library appears here directly under the Home. We'll see here if I go back to the My Library page, now My Favorites block has been populated. It is reflecting the sort order that I just set with residential first. And for these, by clicking on any of these covers, it takes me immediately into the title landing page, where I can leverage the table of contents to jump into specific chapters or sections and complete the task at hand. As my library continues to expand and my favorites list gets longer, we did introduce the grid view by default, but we also have a list view presentation. So this gives the user a little more control as to how they want to traverse their contents and be able to return to them very, very efficiently. All right, and then the next block scrolling down is the titles region. And so this becomes a consolidated opportunity to traverse everything available on digital codes. As a trial user, the default here is going to be reflectant of everything inside my active premium subscription. So the tabs along the top here is going to default to all, and then my scope will default to across my premium titles. Now we're going to step through each option to review what those mean, but the default here for a premium user being all across my premium titles is going to give me an immediate opportunity to see exactly how many titles across the platform are available to me with premium features activated. And those are going to include everything from the enhanced navigation components, cross-linking, ability to add annotations and bookmarks, as well as perform advanced searches across them. As we look at some of these other options, all would give everything. Recommended is going to serve up titles that are relevant based on my location, as well as my tendencies. So based on my persona, what types of titles I'm looking at, what state I'm pulling up, these titles are going to be recommendations from the system that it feels are going to be beneficial to my use case. The recently viewed will take into account any titles that I have visited since my previous sessions. If you think of streaming platforms, be it Netflix or Disney Plus, this would be the equivalent of continue where you left off. So this, much like favorites, is going to give you recently accessed titles. The difference is this is going to be listed regardless of whether that title is flagged as a favorite or not. So when you compare and contrast these two blocks, you have more control to say what you want in your favorites list, whereas recently viewed is going to be those titles that you opened up and viewed content in your last session. And then this last one here allows you, especially for Premium Complete users, to stay on top of the great content that ICC continues to add that is available inside your subscription. Now you might be noticing a couple of these covers are missing. Again, it's because this demo is being led from our stage environment. Rest assured that when these contents are loaded in the production environment, all of those physical assets for the covers will be present. Now when we come back to all, so we've got the tabs along the top here, and then our scope dropdown will control how far the bounds are returning for the search results. So if I wanted to go all and then search all titles on digital codes, you'll notice this is going to return everything that exists on the platform. So I have over 2,000 titles currently available on Digital Codes. And if I step inside here for my premium titles, we can see that I've got just about half of those inside my premium subscription. Now, again, this is at a premium complete trial aspect. So for a full featured trial, that number is going to be even higher than during the trial, but the user gets a much better sense of just how far reaching their access is. And then the last one here gives insight into those that are premium only titles where a subscription is required. And this is where premium really starts to differentiate itself from the basic experience and some other options out there. These are going to be the supplemental materials that don't have a free component, but really strengthen or enhance the application, understanding, and enforcement of the codes as written. And this is going to be everything from your study companions, your commentaries, your essentials, and these are going to be identified in the grid view here by the P icon that appears underneath it. Now, one thing to call out as we look at these, right now, everything in premium only has both the P icon and the gold border. Depending on your access level, you might see titles where the P icon is there, but the gold border is not. The border identifies what is inside of your active premium subscription. So if we were to go back to the My Premium titles, everything in this view is going to have the gold border. This has the premium features activated based on my tier. Premium only, the P icon is indicating that there is not a basic component to this title, but unless the gold border is there, it may not be a part of my premium subscription. And that is outlined as well in the tooltip here to break down intuitively how to navigate these pieces. All right. As I come back here to all and then my premium titles, the other thing I wanted to show is our search filters, giving the user complete control into finding the titles that are relevant for their use case. So these search filters are going to reflect what a lot of customers have become familiar with from our landing page. So when we talk about browsing available contents by, we have our 8 high-level buckets here with our dropdowns. This is pulled forward into the My Library components as well, where across everything inside of Premium, the user can further refine to say, show me the 2021 iCodes. Maybe I want to pull from 2021 as well as a specific state location. And we can see that the descriptor here gets smart as I filter that down to let me know that it's showing 82 results from the 21 iCodes in California. And I can go even further and say, show me from those result sets anything that's relevant to building. And this is going to refine even further, and we can see we have a very targeted result of where to pick up so that we can dive into the content and engage much more rapidly. Now, as we do that, what's really nice with the My Library is any of the search filters being applied are stored as preferences to the user. Meaning, if I drill into here, I'm navigating across the International Building Code. Here inside of the Premium, we can see my hyperlinked behavior with my peek ahead functionality. We can see my Premium tool grid, my ability to make notes and annotations. And when I return back here to my library, my filters and my results set are going to be preserved exactly as I left them. So I'm still seeing here building from the 21 iCodes in California, meaning if this is the refined result set that I engage with most frequently, I don't have to repeat those steps in order to perform those adjustments. And with regards to preferences, the other piece you have is the ability to expand or collapse these blocks based on what is most relevant for your use case. So assuming I've onboarded, I understand what's in the get started, I understand what's in the favorites, but that's not a feature that I'm going to utilize very heavily, I can actually leave those blocks to be collapsed, recognizing I'm going to engage with my titles most frequently. And again, whether I want to go grid or list view, that functionality exists here as well. And if I were to navigate away, let's say we'll click into another one of these titles. I return back to my library. We can see that the consolidated view is preserved and it returns the page exactly as I had left it. And this will be the case even if I sign out and sign in a future session to Digital Codes. That preference is persisted so that I'm able to start using the application in the way that's most efficient for my use case. And then the last piece as we scroll down a little bit further is going to be our concurrent access block. This becomes a really valuable feature to take advantage of as one of the opportunities to configure your license and share across your team. With concurrent access, the flexibility is such that you can buy a block of licenses, let's say 5 premium complete licenses. You can configure those to be concurrent behind an access code, and you can then distribute that code to your team as far and wide as necessary, let's say a team of 15 or 20. The only limitation becomes only 5 of that team of 20 can be in the system at the same time, but as soon as someone signs out, that license is now freed up for one of the other team members to take advantage of. And we have a sample one here, so I'm going to go ahead and enter one of my concurrent codes. And we can see how the My Library display will refine based on the type of connection that I'm now within. So what I was looking at prior was my personal account with a trial experience. Now that I'm connected concurrently, one thing you will notice is the intro text has refined. No longer am I seeing the countdown for how many days are remaining on the trial, because I am inside the shared concurrent access token now. I still have access to the tools and content, but as we scroll down, my favorites and the titles are going to be refined as it relates to the concurrent code. And the biggest piece here is what we're seeing inside of the titles is going to be a different set, because these are the titles with the premium features and content provisioned under the concurrent code that I've entered. That becomes even more intuitive as we hover over the account menu here on the right-hand side, and the users get a chance to start to see how our account navigation and the different profiles allows for configuration of different groups, different collaboration opportunities. So where we sign in, your username and password is your account. That will not change as you authenticate to digital codes. But this listing here, which will expand dynamically, allows the user to traverse one of 3 different types of profiles. And as we just mentioned, the profile will control the content and the features that are provisioned for that active premium subscription. The personal here lets me know that that is the premium trial, which I just navigated out of, and demo test 2 is the code for a concurrent profile type in which I am currently active. Any of the preferences that I apply here, so again, if I want to refine this further and say just show me the 2021 iCodes, we'll notice that search is refined. I can change this to the list view as well. I can expand favorites, but I'll leave Get Started expanded. And what I wanted to show is if I navigate back to my personal account, which I can do with a single click, the preferences of how I utilize my premium complete trial are differentiated from how I'm going to utilize the concurrent functionality. So I can actually jump in and out of profiles here with a single click. And again, my demo test 2 is preserved so that I don't have to type the code again the next time, but it lets me know that I'm not actively connected to that account profile. The profile types, personal and concurrent, we just reviewed. There is one additional type of profile which expands upon here, and that is our DCP Enterprise offering. So sticking with Peter Quill here, what I'm going to do is navigate over to my other browser, and on the back end, an enterprise profile uses dedicated seats, but is another means by which the user can leverage collaboration possibilities. And I am going to go ahead and add my Peter Quill account to an existing profile. So as I add Peter, he has now been activated inside of Enterprise. And if I come back here and I'm going to refresh this page, traversing the application as Peter, what I'm going to do is receive a pop-up letting me know that I've been invited into an Enterprise account. So where concurrent access allows you to share the licenses, but the limitation is how many users can be in the system at the same time, DCP Enterprise allows you to buy a block of dedicated seats. And the administrator has the ability to define who is provisioned for each of those seats, but you're not going to run into sharing obstacles like you would with concurrent. Each of those individuals has a seat set aside for them, but the collaboration opportunities, the premium features, and the titles and contents that are provisioned function in much the same way. When I accept this invite, it's going to initiate the 3rd type of profile for this individual. And you can see here where the Get Started block really provides the context as to what the user is seeing and how they're going to utilize it. In this scenario, the user is now within an enterprise subscription, and it lets me know as well that this is premium complete within the enterprise. We do have the branded logo to differentiate enterprise from our traditional Digital Codes premium licenses. And as we navigate over here to the menu, now we have the third option in the dropdown. So I've got my personal. In this scenario, I have an enterprise I can navigate to, and I've got my concurrent opportunity. What's important is that any notes created and any collaboration is going to be contained within the scope of that profile. What's really powerful is that this user could be invited to multiple enterprise profiles, meaning they can be collaborating across multiple companies, multiple groups, or even multiple teams based on what the relevance of the use case is. As we scroll down, we're still going to have the favorites and then the titles block, but this is going to be relevant to what's provisioned for that account. So you'll recall as a premium trial, I had roughly 900 titles. You'll notice this with Premium Complete as a full provisioned account has over 1,500. And again, that count is going to quickly and easily show the user what they have access to, while also having the ability to quickly navigate down to what's going to be most useful or most relevant for their use case. Again, all that functionality is going to exist exactly the same way. If we were to come back over here, we can add Peter to one more enterprise here. We set up that one was for complete. We're going to add one here for a premium single, just so that we can show how that would look as he has more than one enterprise account added to his dropdown. And so he's going to be added again. If we refresh, he's going to receive another invite here within the system. And while this does appear inside of the Digital Codes application to make sure the user is aware that they're being invited, I will call out that that was one other change that we implemented here. The user will receive an email as well. So if they're not actively within the system at the time, they'll receive an email alerting them of the fact they've been invited to an enterprise account and have an ability to accept that. And that may have something to do with the fact that it's a stage environment. So I can share a screenshot of what that would look like after the demo. But the idea is the same. They would accept the invite from the email. It would bring the user into my library. And again, it would activate that enterprise profile with the appropriate titles provisioned. Now this one, again, if we scroll down to my library, you'll notice because this one was a premium single, this only has the building code provisioned within it. So it lets me know that all across my premium titles in this account is actually only 3. And again, as we come over here to the account menu, now you can see where the power of this really starts to build. I have my FS complete, my FS single. That will be reflective of the enterprise name that the organization lands upon when they secure the contract, and then my concurrent. And again, a single click allows me to take full advantage of any of these access levels and content features. All right, so I will pause there just briefly. Any questions to this point?
Hey, Dan, I mean, it's you were showing the enterprise seats compared to the DCP licenses, which was a good point. While you're there on your screen, could you show where the new configure license access is for people who have purchased the DCP licenses? They are able to configure them, as Dan mentioned, into being into shared groups. And as the owner of the license, you're able to configure those. So over on the left-hand side, Dan, it's moved to on the menu and premium tools.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we just talked about a second ago, this is now the account menu. So this is dedicated to being able to traverse your reflective profiles. Within any individual profile that's active, your premium tool set, including the configure licenses that Phil was just talking about, are going to be accessible from the main menu under your premium tools heading. And so when we click on license configuration, this is the page that Phil had just mentioned, where for any subscriptions that are provisioned for that account, meaning that user is the one who completed the transaction and has control over them, they would list out here and allow the user to configure them to either be assigned to another individual or configure them to be concurrent.
Thanks. And you also had shown the search features. For if you could go back to them maybe, and since you're driving this demo already, and show a couple things, how to access search if someone wants to search, Usually when I do these demos, I'll point out that if they're on the home page, they can search in that search bar across all their 1,400 titles if they have complete. But there's a couple other options you can do, and especially maybe show that where you find the advanced search with the search terms and near-term search.
Sure, absolutely. Um, so as you do open up one of the titles across digital codes and you're looking inside the contents, the system is contextually aware. So you'll notice along the top here, the default text is letting you know any search you perform now would be across the 2021 International Building Code by default. So if I were to look in here for means of egress as an example, the dropdown is going to suggest relevant terms, matching means of egress or enhancing it further. So I can either select one of these or I can hit enter just to initiate the search based on what I had typed. The user will be directed to our search results page, but what's important to note here is the result set is going to be smaller because this is bound to the singular title. So I have the ability at any point that I can remove this title, which will increase the scope. But the intent is to give me a more targeted result set based on what the system is identifying is relevant to the content that I am actively perusing. So all of these results here, and this is going to be confirmed by the breadcrumbs that appear underneath, are going to be sourced from the 2021 International Building Code. Now, as I come in, I can clear these, or I can hit clear search up here, which is going to remove all the filters. This would be the same as navigating from anywhere across the site, clicking on advanced search or typing in the search directly in here. If I am not inside of an individual title, you'll notice for that same means of egress, I'm going to get a much, much larger result set because this is returning matches from every title inside my premium subscription, which as a premium complete trial user is going to be upwards of 1,000 different titles. So we can see some of the strongest matches here by relevance are international existing building code. We do have some matches here from the building code, but that's the key difference is that's going to be a far wider result set, which really allows me to take advantage of some of the advanced term searching where I can refine this down. I have means of egress. Let's say I want means of egress, but I don't want any sections that have the word accessible within it. I can actually apply that to the result here, which is going to shrink this down. I can also refine based on the categories, the years, and the titles here, much the same way that it did automatically when I was coming from the 2021 International Building Code. So I can actually come in here and say, I only want to see results across the I codes, and I only want to see results from, say, the 2018 I codes. Every refinement I apply is going to reduce the size of my result set. And again, my breadcrumbs are going to let me know which individual title any of these results are sourced from. The specific match is going to be highlighted here in yellow. And then I've got my premium tools available here on the right-hand side so that for these results, I can jump to the section, either clicking on this icon or the title of the section itself, which is going to open up the chapter view and take me to that section. So whether there's relevance from the preceding or following subsections, I can read that in full. I can copy this to my clipboard. So if I'm using this functionality in coordination with another tool, I can actually grab the text of this section and have it prepared to drop in somewhere else. I can generate a PDF of this section, which is going to be copyrighted for my individual use, but this way I have this available that I can utilize anywhere else that it's necessary. I can share the link to this section. So whether I'm fielding a call with a constituent or a colleague, I can quickly and easily send them directly to this specific passage where the requirements are clearly spelled out. And then last but not least, I can add a bookmark right from here. So if I want to start classifying a multitude of these, I can actually define a tag for means of egress. I can select the appropriate color to keep myself organized. And I can go right down the line and actually start flagging multiple results here with my means of egress value. And it becomes an efficient way not only to keep results across multiple titles organized, but if I come and I take advantage of another premium tool, which is my notes and bookmarks page, I can actually generate a PDF title of all of my notes of a specific value and export that to a PDF. So if I want to say, show me everything from means of egress, which right now is the two sections I just bookmarked, I can select those, just title this my PDF, But we notice here when I click on PDF, now I've got the passages from those two titles in a singular PDF that I can distribute to my colleagues or to my constituents as necessary.
Also on those notes and bookmarks there, especially now that we're going to a new cycle with the 2024 I codes, any of those notes that you see there are now have the ability, you can migrate those into future books. So instead of pulling out old sticky notes or recopying, you can move the notes into the new versions, and the system's intelligent enough to know that if the code section number is changed slightly or the chapter, it attaches it to the correct code section.
Much more efficient than recreating them all from scratch. Absolutely.
And then let me throw a question at you here and see how you would find it, as this user might be looking for it. But if someone wants to see differences between the IBC 215 to 218, what are some ways that they would be able to notice that? Whether it be, I'll let you go ahead, Dan, in the order you think.
Sure. So the best way to do that is going to be utilizing the color-coded text across the contents. That is indicated to mark up the technical changes between the cycles of the I code. So anywhere that you do see blue text is going to indicate a technical change from the prior cycle, which in this case would be the 2015 International Building Code. Now, as a premium user, we have the ability to take advantage of the additional premium materials that are tagged across. So in this scenario, there would be a revision history tagged here. And again, stage environment, yeah, so we don't have the real content, but in production, we would actually have the legislative format complete with the cost impact reason statement and any of the code development outcomes that pertain to the changes to the specific section. So that's a really powerful feature there. The color-coded text does correspond to the marginal markings in the printed book. So if that's a format that the audience is more familiar with, the color-coded text actually allows for the digital representation to get more granular. Whereas in a physical book, the marginal marking would indicate a change somewhere in that line. As we continue to iterate and move forward, the digital can get down to a specific term or terms that changed, indicating much more granular, as well as allowing the application to tag that supplemental material so that everything from the revision history to the hearing videos will be available for the viewer to take advantage of.